Ladies and gentlemen, it is sale time. It is the 23rd of December. We're going to be blasting through a hell of a lot of sales this time. We're going to be talking about Steam, Uplay, Origin, Green Man Gaming, Humble Bundle, and a few others as well. So basically fasten your seatbelts because we're going to go through these as quickly as possible. There are a couple of caveats I'd like to point out before we do begin. Obviously, with Steam, as you probably are aware by now, but I'll just point it out anyway, it is not a case where you get flash deals, and all deals that I mention are going to be still good and ready in a few days' time. I'm just focusing on the highlighted deals because those are the ones that a lot of people are bringing to their attention. And also, it's a bit weird on Steam at the moment because I was doing some further checking on some games and there are quite a few which are not on sale. For example, Far Cry 4 is not cheaper at the moment. It's just a regular price on Steam, but it's cheaper on Uplay. And there are other instances of exactly the same deal. For example, Fallout 4 is not any cheaper at the moment. There are no deals on it, which is unsurprising because it's selling rather well, to say the least. So I've said a whole bunch of words, but I guess now it's time to start talking about the deal. So we're going to start out with Pillars of Eternity, which of course is a very Neverwinter Nights-esque RPG. Click-based, absolutely awesome single-player experience. Can't really complain about this one. Excellent title. It's going to last you for some time. 14 Great British Pounds. I'm only going to be giving GBP because otherwise I'll be here all day. Excellent title. I've seen it a little cheaper than that in other locations, but honestly it's around the same pricing that you'd expect. Mortal Kombat X had some problems with the PC version. I believe most of them have been ironed out, but you do want to double check on that because I haven't played the PC version really. I've only played I think it's PS4 version briefly. So do double check, but as far as I'm aware, most of the launch issues with Mortal Kombat X have been fixed. Don't know what the online competitive scene's like. 60% off with £14 is not bad. Dishonored, well, can't really argue about Dishonored, can you? It's a pretty damn good game. There is the Game of the Year edition, which is $6.79. If you're at the very least looking for the basic story, just pick up the base game at $2.49. It's going to last you several hours anyways. Probably about 10 to 15 hours gameplay, depending on how much searching you do and how much messing around you do. On the other hand, if you do want to pick up the DLC, that's also on offer, but it's not that much cheaper. It's only 50% off. I say not that much. It's not as much as maybe you'd expect. Undertale is 20% off, which brings it to $5.59. Can honestly say that I've not actually played this. I know I'm getting gasps of shock and horror across the universe at this point. Everyone else I know has played it. Amatu has played it. I've got tons of friends who have played it. Pretty much any of my PC friends have played this damn game. And yet I'm the only one who seems not to have. For 20% off at $5.59, I think it's a pretty damn solid experience. You're not really going to see this one go much cheaper. I mean, it was only released in September, for the love of God, and even if it goes down 50%, it's so cheap anyway. It's not exactly going to be the greatest saviour to your bank balance, is it? Yeah, so this is actually one of those games where you can actually do a complete and utter pacifist run, and the game does respond differently depending on how many people you murder, and it's kind of cool from what I've heard. Portal 2, not surprisingly, it's on sale, $2.99, 80% off. Not my particular thing, but there you go. Outlast, $3.74. Excellent game. In my opinion, scarier than Amnesia. I know that's probably not the most popular of opinions, but in my personal tastes, I found Amnesia, the original, an excellent game with the atmosphere, but I found it's just far too easy. I wasn't scared of monsters whatsoever because there's no real penalties for death. Outlast definitely has more atmosphere in my mind. $3.74, you can't really go wrong. Remember Me, it really got panned on launch actually. This one got heavily criticised, but for $4.59, it's a pretty good experience for 80% off. The combat isn't bad. I did cover this one on RGT, so check it out if you want. Rage, $3.24, 75% off. It has some issues, particularly the PC version. It's called mega texturing. That's the issue. But as a game, it's not bad. It's essentially I guess, Fallout Light. What I mean by that is it does have some Fallout-ish elements, but it much more focuses on fast-paced gunplay. It's not as bad as what some people made it out to be, but it's not as good as what it could have been. For the price, which is £3.24, you might want to check it out. It's, at least in my opinion, worth that. So I'm going to also talk quickly about the Banner Saga. 374, really good game. Essentially, the best way of describing this one is a tile-based strategy RPG. It's a really good game, excellent story. It's not normally my thing, this type of combat, but I actually quite enjoyed my time with it. I'd recommend checking it out. Now, I know I'm being rather brief when it comes to Steam, but there are so many games available everywhere at the moment that I just want to kind of blast through them and at least let you know about some of the other deals that are around. So Green Man Gaming have their own sales. There are a couple of different options with GMG at the moment. Now, the first is they have an 80% off, up to 80% off, let me clarify, Best of 2015, which has titles such as Grand Theft Auto 5, Call of Duty Black Ops 3, Rocket League, Darksiders 2, Blackguards, Broforce, Hotline Miami, The Talos Principle, and Titan Souls. I'd argue that not all of those are amazing games, but, you know, whatever. It's pretty much that's it. I mean, there's not that many more games than that, but they also are running a winter sale simultaneously, which has got 5 pages. The titles are pretty numerous, including GTA 5, which doesn't really offer any larger saving than Steam, and that is the case for a lot of games here on GMG, but it is worth digging through because there are some pretty nice titles. For example, Max Payne 3 is actually slightly cheaper on GMG than what it is Steam. We're only looking at about 80p saving, but still, it's not exactly a hardship to order from them. Once again, just if you're not too familiar, I don't have any affiliation, I'm just pointing it out for those who are looking for cheap games. You don't need to worry about anything, they're essentially an authorized key retailer. Quite a few cheap Capcom games, including Resident Evil 6, which Resident Evil 6, Remember Me, is also only $3.99 from GMG, so once again that's a slight extra saving. You've also got some pretty damn good prices on all of the other Resident Evils. Unfortunately, Resident Evil Revelations 2 is still really expensive, which is a bit unfortunate, but Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 5, and all of the other ones, including Lost in Nightmares, all really cheap at the moment, which is absolutely fantastic, so definitely well worth checking out. Also Wolfenstein The New Order, and a lot of id's games are also quite cheap. The Evil Within, which I know isn't strictly speaking id or anything like that, but it's still published by Bethesda. The Wolfenstein New Order, $5.24, and you've also got The Old Blood, which is $7.49, which is a newer game, but also considerably shorter. I would recommend The New Order first, because it's only $5.24 and it's a pretty long game. BFG edition of Doom 3 is also $4.99. Very standard pricing, not anything amazingly going to set your world alight or anything like that. There is a whole bunch of Square Enix games, but don't buy any of them, and I'll tell you why in just a second. Pause. Put yourself on pause. Anyway, that's pretty much it. There is some other games like Sniper Elite, but I wasn't really that much of a fan. I actually prefer the Nazi Zombie Sniper Elite. That's just my opinion. So I did mention, don't buy any Square Enix games. Why? Well, despite the fact that this isn't particularly a Steam sale, or specifically a Steam sale, there is Humble Square Enix Bundle 3, and it is insane. For $1 or more, you can unlock The Last Remnant, Life is Strange Episode 1, Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3, and Murdered Soul Suspect, which are pretty damn solid games, to be honest. Then, for $5.03, which is currently the average, so obviously it might vary, you get Final Fantasy Realm Reborn, Just Cause Collection, which is Just Cause 1 and 2, Front Mission Evolved, Gyromancer, Yosemite, 20% off Just Cause 3, and new games are coming soon. And finally, if you want to pay many monies, and I say many monies in the loosest possible sense, you can pay $9 or more, and you can unlock Lara Croft and the Temple of Osiris, which is a pretty solid game The Tomb Raider, which is obviously a 2013 reboot, which is available on PC and Xbox One and everything else under the sun, which is a Game of the Year edition, however, and Hitman Absolution, which is, in my opinion, really underrated, and I quite like the damn thing. That's insane! For like $9, you can get a ridiculous quantity of games. It's well worth the price of admission for that one. In case you're not too familiar with Humble Bundle, maybe you're a new PC gamer, pretty simple. You can pay with multiple methods, including PayPal, and then you can either make an account with them or you can not, and then just have them email you a link, and then you'll have a specific set of codes which you can then activate either on Steam or not on Steam, depending on if it's an indie game. This one, of course, would likely be Steam codes. Happy? Good. Right, let's move on to the next series of titles, shall we? Because no, we're not done. No, we're not done at all. So, Origin, there's a whole load of games available on sale. The biggest discounts, of course, are EA's own games. Slight caveat, well not caveat, but just a little thing for you to remember. If you don't like a game, you can return it with Origin, assuming it's an EA Studios game. So, in other words, you could return a game like SimCity, but you could not return another game that was, say, from, oh, I don't know, say Capcom. And all of that said, there are a lot of good deals. Battlefield 4 Premium Edition, which is still getting updates, by the way. £16, not bad price, seen it cheaper, but not bad. You can pick up Dragon Age Inquisition Game of the Year Edition. Small note, if you happen to own an Xbox and you happen to have the EA access, you can actually pick this one up for free. It's not the Game of the Year Edition, and it is, of course, on Xbox. The PC version is vastly superior, and I refer mostly to the gameplay and graphics. I say gameplay because you can play with mouse and keyboard, and it just makes life a lot simpler. And obviously the graphics and frame rate are also a lot nicer. The Inquisition Game of the Year Edition does come with all the DLC, which is also on sale. Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is also the same price as it is on Steam, but once again, I've seen it cheaper in other locations anyway. Battlefield Hardline, interestingly, is $9.99. It's not a bad game, you could pick it up. Dead Space, all of the Dead Spaces are available on sale. The original Dead Space, for sake of argument, is $3.39. You can pick up the original Dragon Age Inquisition, just standard based game, which has still got a fuck ton of content, just for your FYI, for only $11.99. Crisis Trilogy, $12.49. Well worth it. I actually really like the Crisis Trilogy. Can't really say anything bad about them. They're not perfect games. They do have some gameplay hiccups here and there, and they do rely sometimes a little bit on the old gimmick. But still, other than that, I can't really criticise it. Pillars of Eternity is on sale. It's a Championship Edition. Probably not worth it, to be honest. Once again, you've got a whole bunch of games on sale, including all of the Assassin's Creeds and all that stuff, but a lot of the titles are slightly more expensive on here, unfortunately. What you might want to do, however, is pick up Star Wars Battlefront. Actually, I'd probably recommend you don't pick up Star Wars Battlefront, because it's not particularly a great game. But if you are really that keen on purchasing it and you want a game over Christmas, it is available for 40% off at the moment, which makes it only $29.99. That's it, only in the loosest possible sense. So maybe you want to check that out. I would advocate you staying away from Battlefront, but that's just my opinion. Now we're going to move on to, well, Uplay. Who wants to move on to Uplay? Let's be honest. Anyway, small note, up to 80% off, but you do get guaranteed access to Tom Clancy's The Division with any purchase, but this does exclude pre-orders. So, for the sake of argument, if you were to buy South Park's Surgical Truth, which is a pretty good price actually, $3.75, then you would get access to The Division beta, which is kind of cool. Anyway, jumping back into the games themselves, Far Cry 4 is available for $21.60. You've got Zombie, which is a pretty damn good game actually, for $8.99. I'd actually recommend that one. Really good. Have covered it on the channel, so check that out. You've also got some cheaper versions of the various statues and various editions of Far Cry and Assassin's Creed. Whether that's your thing or not, totally up to you. Personally not my thing, but I am not you, obviously. Honestly, their store is okay, but a lot of it is collectible stuff and merchandise and all of that stuff. Whether you're going to be that interested in it, once again, comes down to you. There is, however, some t-shirts and various other collectibles, which may tickle your fancy, so at the very least it's worth having a quick little look at them. It's kind of unfortunate because the prices are not that amazing. It's actually rather ironic, well, not ironic, actually it's completely enough of the wrong word, but it's actually rather different because previously you had some really good deals on Steam, but it looks like Uplay have basically just taken the monopoly. Perhaps the best deal that I've personally discovered so far is Far Cry Limited Edition. The standard limited edition of Far Cry is only $6.25, which is obviously a little different from the gold edition. With the gold edition you get some other stuff, includes the season pass. So if you do want to pick up the full version, I guess, then you'd have to pick that up. But for most people, if you're just starting out, the limited edition of Far Cry 4 is probably enough. It's a pretty good deal. It's not the best deal that you're ever going to see in your life, but it's not bad for $6.25 considering the new game's coming out soon and all of that jazz. And that's pretty much it. There are other websites available, but I'm going to be speaking for a long time. So those are the biggest ones at the moment. Obviously 6 weeks, or maybe not 6 weeks, but a couple of days from now, who the hell knows. But for now, I think that's about all the deals that we have time for. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.